I just completed a game jam. This isn't my first game jam. I actually made a video a while back about my experience with my first game jam, but this is the first game jam that I've completed in a while. Partially just because I've been super busy with work recently, so it's been hard to find time to work on hobby projects. But I have also attempted a couple game jams that just did not go very well. I tended to either overscope the project and just try to do too much, or I would get busy with work or life and just run out of time and not be able to finish it in time. So this time I was determined to keep my project within scope, make sure that I had enough time to finish it, and make sure that I could complete the game and deliver it on time. But I still wanted to make sure that I was learning something and experimenting with some things that I hadn't used before. So for this game jam, I decided to make my first ever 3D game. The jam that I entered was the 12 Seconds of Christmas game jam. The goal of the jam was to make a festive themed game with 12 seconds of gameplay. They gave a few examples of the kinds of gameplay loops that they were looking for. One of them was WarioWare. But what I kept thinking about was Mario Party minigames, where you would have like 10 seconds to button mash as fast as you could, and then after that period was over, there would be some sort of animation or something that would play that would show who mashed the most. So you can still show results and do different things outside of the main gameplay loop, but the actual main gameplay should be 12 seconds. Since I wanted to do something in 3D, I started thinking about different kind of games that I've seen before with that kind of short and replayable game loop. And one of the games that I thought about was Pokemon Snap. If you don't remember Pokemon Snap, it was basically a game where you would go through a scene with a bunch of different Pokemon in it, and they would be doing different stuff and in different locations, and your job would be to take pictures of different Pokemon. So I thought I could set up like a little North Pole scene, and then you would ride a train through that scene, and then you would have to take pictures of different items within the scene. Unfortunately, I found this holiday asset pack from Kenny, who is someone who uploads a bunch of these free assets available for game developers. And coincidentally, he actually updated this asset pack in the middle of the time period of the game jam. So I had already started using some of the old versions of the assets, and then he updated the pack with brand new assets, so I was able to use some assets from both the old version and the newly updated version. In addition to figuring out how to work with 3D, which included cameras and lighting and world environment nodes and viewports, I also had to figure out how to work with path follow nodes, which allowed the train to follow the track through the scene. And I also had to figure out first-person camera controls, and I also used groups for the first time, which allowed me to detect what items you had taken pictures of. After figuring out how all these things worked, I ended up with a very simple game where you were given a list of 3 randomly selected items to take pictures of. Then you take a short train ride through the North Pole and take up to 3 pictures. And then on the results screen, you can view the pictures you have taken. It's very short and very simple, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I think the main thing that I learned while working on this game jam was I think I prefer 2D. I think 3D games are great. Most of the games that I play in my own time are 3D. And it would be amazing if I could make the next great 3D RPG game or the next amazing 3D multiplayer FPS. But honestly, that's just not realistic. I'm not really trying to be a professional game dev. I just started learning about game development a few months ago in my spare time because I thought it was cool and fun. I don't really see myself quitting my day job and going to work for a AAA studio or anything like that. Odds are the vast majority, if not all, of the game projects that I'm working on in the near future will all be very small solo projects that I'm doing for game jams and things like that. And honestly, for those kind of projects, 3D is just too much work for me. I'm not a good artist, but I can still throw together a very basic sprite in Aseprite. And I can still take a sprite that I find online and I can change it and move it around and make an additional animation frame. When it comes to 3D, I just feel completely handcuffed and limited to the assets that I can find online. For this game, I would have loved to have some of the assets move and have animations, and maybe some of them could come in and out of the scene, so you would have to time the picture in order to get the object that you wanted. But as far as I could figure out, none of the assets from the asset pack I was using actually were rigged and had the ability to animate. And creating custom rigged 3D assets is just beyond my artistic ability. Maybe I'll try 3D again in the future, or maybe I'll meet an incredible 3D artist that for whatever reason wants to make amazing custom rigged animatable 3D assets for me. But for now, I think I'm probably going to stick to 2D for all my projects in the near future.